stepmom ruined my life, so I destroyed her career. Man, things just went wild after my stepmother kicked me out. I really didn't know where to turn or what to do next. Laura, my stepmother, really took over and controlled everything, and I felt thrown out. That was the worst, but I wasn't going to let that bring me down. Honestly, I didn't really have too many options to choose from, but I wasn't about to just sit around either. So, I ended up crashing at my aunt's place. And honestly, she was the only one who didn't ditch me. She had her own kids, but they were older, and she always treated me like I was one of hers. I got super lucky with that. She didn't ask me to pay any rent, which was cool because it really gave me a chance to figure things out. So, I went to college even though I was pretty broke. I hardly had any of the inheritance money left, just enough to get by for a couple of years. But really, the money wasn't the point. I just wanted to make something of myself. I wanted to show Chloe and her whole family that I wasn't going to just fade away and be some loser. A couple of years went by, and then I ran into Chloe. She was my age and in nursing school. We really connected. Chloe never judged me for all the family drama I went through. If anything, she actually admired how I got my act together after all that mess with Laura. I finally felt like I could breathe, like I wasn't stuck in the past anymore. I didn't have to wait too long before I met Chloe's family. Her parents were super laid back. And her brother Tyler, dude, he was a character. He had that classic bad boy look with all his tattoos, had been to prison for a bit, and now he just did landscaping. Honestly, with that description, he wasn't the kind of guy I thought I would get along with, but we really hit it off. Well, so one night I was just chilling at Chloe's, and we kind of started talking about my stepmom completely out of the blue. I bring up Laura, and Tyler just nonchalantly says he knows her. He goes, "No way, dude. I've hooked up with your stepmom before." I was like, "No way. Are you serious?" He proceeds to tell me how Laura used her apartment building. Let's just say some pretty shady stuff. He was one of those guys who knew everything about that world, and he wasn't afraid to speak about it. Tyler let me in on a little secret about Laura. She wasn't just running any old business. It turns out that she was running a brothel, and that was where she was raking in most of her cash. I could feel my blood starting to boil. First, she kicked me out of my dad's house, and now I find out she's mixed up in all this illegal crap. Can you believe it? She was actually running for the city council. She was out there acting like this hardworking immigrant who started businesses for others. Tyler let me in on the little secret that all she really wanted was to climb the political ladder, and that just made my stomach turn. She was totally riding on my dad's hard work to make herself look great while living this double life. That's when it hit me. I wasn't about to sit back and let her get off scot free. Well, just informing the people was not enough for me. I did want to see her utterly destroyed. I wanted to have her feel it all. No more hurting me. So, Tyler, being the guy he is, was totally into helping out. Big idea. Get some dirt on Laura. We were gonna catch her in the act. I wasn't really sold on the idea at first, but once Tyler outlined his plan, there was no way to back out. He was going to secretly film her during one of her meetings at her place. It was a sort of crazy idea, but I wasn't going to back down. We set it all up to go. Tyler worked the camera, and I just kept out of the shot. I didn't really need to see her, but we had to get this on tape. Her talking about drugs, running a brothel, even dissing her boyfriend. We wanted her to come off looking super bad. It was a little risky, but the payoff could be huge. So, Tyler took off a couple of days later to China with the footage. All we had to do was chill and wait until the right moment came along. That came when Laura was to give her little speech at this hotel for her city council run. I knew this was my shot. Tyler's video, like a ticking time bomb, was about to drop. I couldn't let her just walk away from this without getting hurt. I jammed my stuff into my bag, grabbed the Bluetooth speaker, and headed to the conference room where she was to speak. The room was dark except for the spotlight focused on the stage. Awesome! So when Laura got up there, I set up my speaker, turned it on, and pressed play. The video started rolling, blaring her secrets to the world. The crowd went totally still. Some folks gasped, while others whispered. I could see her face go white, her eyes getting huge as the truth came spilling out. She was really trying to keep it together, but it was already too late. The video felt way too real. I made sure to loop it, let it play again so everyone could see what was up. There was no getting away from it now. Anyway, when people started whispering and pointing at her, I just took my stuff and slipped out the side door where Chloe was waiting in the car for me. We hit the road, and truthfully, I felt a little lighter. I had this feeling that things were going to get really messy for Laura. News of the scandal spread within days. Laura's political dreams were destroyed. Her business empire began to crumble. People now knew what she was really about. Tenants abandoned her, and a supposed family business connection started falling apart. Her name was Mud. So Chloe and I became engaged that weekend. We were extremely happy. I finally did one thing right, and as for Laura, she kinda got what she deserved. Well, a few months later, my dad's old place went into foreclosure. A new family moved in, and guess what? They were the first white family on the block. It kind of felt like a little win, you know? Tyler? He jumped at the opportunity to put that video online. It was rampant before it was taken down. But by the time that happened, it was too late. Laura's life was already ruined. Anyways, I was finally moving into a new beginning. One where Laura wasn't looming over me anymore. I was finishing up my degree, and soon enough I would be able to support myself. All that happened really made me stronger, wiser, and much more resolute. And you know what? That was the best inheritance I could ever gotten. Things were finally looking up, I guess, a few months later. I had gotten my life somewhat in order. Oh, Chloe, mostly. I was finishing up my degree and getting into my job a bit more, and things were really going great with Chloe. But every so often, I'd find myself thinking about what went down with Laura. And it felt like something from some kind of movie, right out of some Netflix drama. So, one night, I was out with Tyler, just back from his trip, and we were talking about what we had been up to. You ever think about what it would be like if we really went all in with this? Tyler asked me casually, sipping his beer. He had that look in his eyes, you know, the kind that said he had some plans. Hey, how far are we talking? I replied, curious. He leaned back and tossed out a name. I mean, what if we brought this to someone major? You know, like Harvey Weinstein major, like in the news, you know? I was literally speechless at first. Tyler was one of those guys who always had his eye on the future. But when he started naming names like that, I was like, wow, Harvey Weinstein, that's massive. It's way too massive. Honestly, the thought of dragging Laura's name through the media again was so tempting. I could just imagine it. Her face plastered everywhere while every rag from F the New York Times to F the New York Times to the National Enquirer had a field day with the story. It wasn't about tanking her business anymore. It was all about ensuring she'd never rebound. But that's when I realized it wasn't about me getting back at them. It was about proving to everyone that there are consequences for what you do. So, I started thinking bigger. What if we found somebody who could really make a difference? Not cops or lawyers. I mean, someone that could get the whole country talking. And then it hit me. Someone like Oprah Winfrey. Can you imagine something like this being on Oprah's show? She would absolutely bring everything out into the open. The world would finally see Laura for what she is. It just felt like the right thing to do to finally put everything to rest. So, I did some research. It turns out Oprah had a production company that took on stories of injustice, and its people joined forces with some of the best reporters in the land. Decided to reach out and sent over some footage of my story. It was a tough call, but it really felt like I was gonna lay it all on the line. So when Oprah's people called me a few weeks later, I totally knew I had made the right call. It wasn't overnight, but after what felt like a lifetime of preparation, the story finally went to air. Laura's face was everywhere. The scandal became national news. Everyone was just shocked. She not only lost her chance at politics, but also her whole career, money, and good name. The phone calls, the emails, it was like everybody finally found out who she really was. All her secrets just poured out like I had staged it. And the coolest thing, I was finally free. I did it. Not only had I messed her up, but I had finally gotten justice. I took back my life and made sure those who hurt me would have to deal with what they did. I could let go of that anger now. Tyler totally got the last laugh, though. He'd already built his rep online. By the time everyone was buzzing about the story, he had his own crew. Working under the radar on docs about crooked politicians and shady business stuff. Anyway, Chloe and I got married right after the documentary came out. Nothing too serious. Just a little get together with friends and family. But it felt like the perfect wrap-up to all the stuff that went down. It's been a few years since the whole Laura mess. Things are pretty chill now. Chloe and I are building a life, and I'm getting the hang of my career. But every so often, as I'm scrolling through the news on my feed, I see a headline with Laura's name and how she's still trying to get back into the limelight. She'd been pretty hush for a bit after that Oprah interview and the documentary, but you know you can't keep someone like her down forever. One night, just scrolling through my phone, I saw a news alert. Laura's making a comeback. She's planning to run for local office again. I completely froze. I hadn't thought about her in ages, but there she was again, looking to jump back into the political scene. It was as if everything I had done, video, the public exposure, was all for nothing to her. "Chloe, look at this," I said, showing her the phone. She read the headline and looked at me. "Are you really gonna let her do this again?" I had no idea. Part of me just wanted to brush it off. But then there was that part of me, the one that had put so much effort into bringing her to light, and it was not going to let her win again. Chloe could totally read my face. I get that you're thinking about it, but is it really worth it? You've already put in so much effort. She's done, isn't she? I didn't answer immediately. But let's be real. I knew I couldn't just watch her slink back out of the shadows. Laura had taken a ton from me, my family, and a bunch of other people. She couldn't just waltz back into power like nothing went down. I had to make sure that didn't go down. I called Tyler, who's been haunting Laura for years. He's made some good connections since all that business went down with her, and he still has his ear to the ground for the dirt on shady characters. I got him up to speed on what was going on, and he didn't hesitate to get on the case. "Let me guess," he said. "You want to go after her again?" I let out a deep sigh. "Yeah, I can't just let her slide. She's gonna try for a local office again. and I'm not cool with that. I need you to find out what she's really up to." Tyler was totally absorbed. He had his own reasons for watching Laura. He'd known about her sketchy stuff for years, and now he saw this as a chance to wrap up what we had kicked off. But this time, it wasn't going to be as easy as the last one. Laura was wiser now and so much more careful. She had learned from her mistakes and, this time, had a whole crew of people supporting her. The deeper we dug, the more we realized she connected to 1,000 shady characters who'd have a lot to lose should she get into trouble again. We spent weeks gathering information. So Tyler and I hit up her new headquarters, campaign offices, looking for any dirt we could find. We didn't have that kind of direct access anymore. Still, Tyler had a knack for getting into places he definitely shouldn't have been, and I'd cultivated my own little network of contacts. Slowly but surely, we were uncovering a pattern of shoddy campaign contributions, outright illegal activities, and even some evidence Laura was engaging in some dirty politicking with local officials. But this time, we weren't just gonna throw her under the bus on a whim. We needed a bigger plan. It wasn't just about taking down Laura anymore. It was about making sure she couldn't wiggle her way back into the system. We couldn't let her win again. One night, Tyler got a tip off concerning the secret meeting Laura was having with one of the local politicos, and we thought it was go time. We planted a hidden camera in the meeting room where she was supposed to discuss her strategies for her campaign. It was such a trip. Totally felt like we were back at square one, doing everything we could to make sure that her lies didn't get a free pass. This time, though, we weren't hunting for evidence. We wanted to really pound her hard in a way that was gonna hurt. We were gonna send the secret footage straight to the press. But first, we had to make sure it was something nothing anyone could ignore. So, the day of the meeting finally came, and everything was all set. We have the footage ready to go, and I just had to chill and wait for the right moment to drop it. But right as I was about to send it out, my dad called me. "Hi, we don't get to talk that much, but I got the news about Laura's running for office again. Are you going to be involved in this?" It felt weird hearing from him after all that went down. The last time we talked, things were still pretty heated. I wasn't even sure if he was still on my side. I let out a sigh and kicked back in my chair. Yeah, I'm totally going after her. She's not getting away with this again. He took a second to think, and then his tone got softer. "I don't see eye to eye with everything you've done, but I get that you're standing up for yourself. Just watch out. There's a ton on the line now, and I really don't want you to forget what matters." I did not know what to say. My dad and I were through much thick and thin stuff, and I knew that I could not change everything that had happened between us, but he meant something in what he said. A small piece of the puzzle fell into place. I thanked him and hung up, then turned my attention back to the task at hand we had to accomplish. Well, the video is out again, and everything about Laura's shady business is seen in a big way. This time, it was much worse. News stations all over the country ran with it. And before long, Laura's name was back in the mix with corruption and drama. This time, though, she didn't have the same backup she used to. People were done with her. This time, I didn't score just a minor victory. I finally made sure she could not harm anyone else again. I was no longer that scared kid who got kicked out of my dad's place anymore. I was that dude who stood up for what's right, and I did it all on my own terms.